Welcome back, guys. Well, we've seen another bloody day on cryptocurrencies, and it seems like that is getting to the majority of the market. A lot of people are getting really triggered by the markets going down, and I could see that clearly from yesterday's video. Normally there's 1 or 2% dislikes, typical. That's what you would expect on every other video. But yesterday, 93 likes. So thank you very much for you guys for hitting that like button, 3,000 on that. But we did get an extra about 5% of people getting extremely triggered from the video that I mentioned. Bitcoin crashed, I sold my crypto. Now, for those that didn't actually watch the video, they're probably the ones getting most triggered. And I know, as we can see, the majority of you are understanding what it is that I'm posting about, my journey, my experiences of being in trading and investing for over 15 years for investing and trading for over 10 years. I'm following the markets and then explaining to you what it is that I see with my astrology, my chart patterns, and just looking at the probabilities of what I do. So for those who understand, thank you very much. It is really appreciated seeing your comments. And on the Gold Coast, not a day goes by that someone doesn't stop me in the street and say thank you for the videos. So that makes me really happy, because at the end of the day, that's why I do this. It's enjoyable to be around like-minded people and a community. Back to the video. I do like to give some positivity in there every so often. Yesterday, bad day. Solana has now dropped more than 15% since yesterday's video. So to the triggered one saying, don't sell, you might as well hold. Well, here's your opportunity to buy 15% lower. As I said in that video, I sold at 130. I've also sold at 160. And what I didn't understand by a lot of people, which is probably why they were getting triggered, is that 3 out of 10 people sell all of their cryptocurrency at once. 7 out of 10 will layer out. They may layer in and layer out, but if you don't understand that, you don't need to sell your entire bag at the one hit. You can sell at any point and pieces of it on the way up and on the way down. And for me, a 50% level, this is a major level, says get out, get some of your or majority of your position off to protect it, because if 50% break down, this is a weaker section of the market. Now, this was just good timing, all right? We broke the 50%. The extreme fear came into the market. We're at 13, and this obviously means that it goes back to our buying plan. So in terms of what Bitcoin needs to do next, but looking at selling crypto, which is the title of this video, it's selling, it's an update. There are other cryptos that I've been selling, and I've been talking about that with my members, and it is much more difficult to come on and tell people I'm looking to sell when it's at these top levels, because you can see there's a lot of volume at the highs. On a chart, it's basically straight up. And from that point, people have this strong emotion to what they've just bought. And to talk about selling at any points when the market is still up in the disbelief stage, it gets a lot of backlash. Now, I know others have done extremely well. I saw your comments here on Twitter, so thank you very much. If you want to follow Twitter and join the conversation over there, links are in the description for Twitter and Instagram. Don't get scammed out there, right? I'm only going to say that once. But yeah, there are people selling on the way down, and as I said, there are plenty of signals to sell on the way down using Gann analysis and Wyckoff analysis. This isn't just me making up stuff. This is over 100 years of experience and tested rules and signals from these guys. I'm just an amateur learning how to use these rules myself and then sharing them online, because I'm learning more by sharing them as well. I can clearly see this would have been a perfect time to be selling out, as this reversed from getting rejected on the got rejected on the 2nd of December, not making it past the high of the 21st. That is a pretty good signal, especially at a top. You can see the next day, big day down, then more volume. So anywhere through here, as I put in that post, between that 180 and 220, multiple signals to get out of Solana. And you had another failed attempt at coming up, and then it quickly reversed from that point. So when you get a failed attempt to break to new highs and then a reversal, it's usually the market saying it's not ready yet. We need to come back, reaccumulate. There's still too much supply in the market, which is basically why markets fall. And when there's more demand than supply, they go up. Like, it's pretty simple stuff, but it just shows you that on a chart. And so there's plenty of signals telling us here. And I waited and waited and waited for a major breakdown here. Now, it could have gone the other way. We could have bounced off our 50% and jumped up. And maybe that's what we're getting to at this point, because we got some volume in the market. Actually, we've broken down from our previous support level, which was at 115. So there was the possibility, we've seen extreme fear, there is a possibility maybe we come back up after a few days and retest the underside of these levels. So that's your support and resistance flip, going from a support to a resistance. So what that looks like is maybe after a few days, market comes back up and tests somewhere under this level, doesn't have to get to exactly 130, and then start to fall away. Maybe fall away quick, maybe fall away slow, and then get that quick move down again to test, as you can see from the horizontal here, over across to around that 80, or maybe to the low of that swing bottom at about $67, $70. Now, I think this has a lot further to go as well. So this brings up the next point of people saying, well, it's already down 50%, stupid to sell now, might as well hold on. My analysis, what I'm looking at are support and resistance areas, and then, of course, Gann and Wyckoff. I want to see some other signals to come into the market. I think these markets will take longer to accumulate now after we've had a big boom and potentially what's working out here to be a big bust. And the levels I look further down, as I said before, 80, 67. Now apply this to any other market. That's all I'm looking for here. It doesn't matter if you like Solana or not, move on to something else, but just use the same strategies. If you want to use the strategies that I use. As I said, I was getting about a 5x out of this. You know, it's not bad. It could have been better. And I've talked about that with my members as well. Link to that at the top of the description, looking at CRO, getting out of that, Zen, getting out of that for well over a 10x. That went up really high from about $3 to $180, and showing where I was getting out of that because I'm layering out. I'm not just selling everything at once. So on the way down, I can still see these levels here. Obviously, there's around the 20s, the 30s. You can see the highs here at about 43, and then of course these peaks at about 50. So somewhere in this zone, maybe slightly higher, I would expect this market to come down to over probably a long period of time, probably 2022, whichever quarter it may be. But I think this is going to take long because this took a long time to build up. You had all of 2020 to build up. You had early 2021 to build up to get the first pump. And then we went down for several months before we had our final run into the top. So I'd expect this to come down, reaccumulate at some point if it is going to be a project that survives long term, and we'll see that on the Bitcoin and the ETH pair for Solana. And then there'll be plenty of opportunities to get in. Remember the other point, we don't need to buy the exact bottom and sell the exact top. All we have to do is just take a chunk out of the middle of the market, save some of that aside, come back when the market's back down, do the same thing again. It should be very boring. So that's the selling my crypto update. Just wanted to explain a few more things because, like I said, this triggered a lot more people than usual. Like I said, 1% to 2% normally is what the dislikes are. Now we got 7%. And of course, this is a very extremely emotional day. As we saw on the fear and greed, it just happens like that. That's always the case. So if you don't mind, smash that like button. Let's get those numbers back in the positive. And if you feel like it, leave us a comment down below as well. There was a lot of negativity there, but let's wipe that out. I want to get into some more positive stuff because, like for Bitcoin, we're starting to punch onto some of these support levels now. Volume is picking up. Nothing, it's good now, but it's nothing like what it was in May, that big spike down. And at the moment, we're starting to extend in time, which means we'll probably be at these lower levels for a longer period of time than what we were hoping for. I was hoping for the December spike down to be it. Obviously accumulated, it got rejected. So this was redistribution. Got rejected at those highs, and that was the signals telling us it's probably ready to break down, more weakness. And we're just looking and finding and waiting for the next support levels, wherever the whales are going to come in to step in to start supporting the market. We can see that the volume is starting to pick up, but the negative to that is it's a low close. There's only a slight positive to it, a tiny bit of hopium in here that we got a close above our major 50% level, which was 36,000. So we got to drop down into 35,400 on the Coinbase chart with a close at 36,400, so just above. As we said, you've seen these numbers on the chart before. These are the levels that we're watching. So this is pretty important at this point in time, and hopefully it does hold up. I'm not quite sure it will, but I'm not saying this will dump tomorrow or the next day or anything like that. I think it's going to be many months beneath the old all-time high. Hear that correctly. I know there's always someone that writes back and says, but you said this, that, the other. Underneath the old all-time high, where November was the peak, I don't think we're going to get back to a new all-time high, at least, probably longer, but at least until the second half of 2022. I think we've probably got some time. If we get back sooner, great, we'll reassess that. But just looking at what happened in the past, it probably will take a fair bit more time. So from this point, what Bitcoin has to do, 1, find a low. 2, put in a higher low, like it always does. Look, you see a low, then we put in a higher low. And then 3, break through some resistance levels. So you can see some of the resistance here. That was support at about 36. There was some resistance at 36. Market broke through 36. Good volume. The volume came in. So let's put that as a 4th thing. The volume came in. All right. Then we got the retest and the market took off from that point. So if 36 breaks down, that's not going to be a good sign for Bitcoin, because this acted as a lot of support, a lot of resistance, and then we needed the volume, so that big pressure to push through the 36. So fingers crossed it holds up. Doesn't, then we're going to look to lower levels between the 28 and the 36K level to continue with some sort of accumulation. We'll continue to follow it. Same sort of thing. We start to break down, we look to the next levels. But the positive is Bitcoin and ETH are holding up better than the majority of the market. As you can see, ETH is now only coming back to its major 50%, $2,400. Solana is just one of many, many, many cryptocurrencies that has broken down its major 50%. So if it breaks down the major 50%, you could probably say this is over for a period of time. But ETH is still just holding up, and then it also has some support levels underneath the 50%, unlike Solana and many, many, many other cryptocurrencies, which a lot of people are still holding. I dare say they're probably going to fall at least another, where are the support levels? Support levels back about 56%, some more support levels back about 70 or 80%. And then if you measure it, that's from that current price. That's just doing the numbers there. Now, if we measure it from the previous all-time high, currently down about nearly 60%, and back to the first support levels, approximately 70 to 75, and then the $50 level, about 80%, then back to those lows, about 90%. We know that altcoins can do this. So be careful out there. Bitcoin and ETH obviously holding up better, but obviously don't make the bigger gains like the smaller altcoins. That's why I like to use those as store of value, although we know that they're quite volatile. But in terms of staying within the cryptocurrency space, if you're in early enough, in around $80 to $300, then the market drops to $2,000, you're still up a huge amount. Still up a huge amount. So 50%, that's what we need it to hold. ETH is it just broke down its September low, and so it's looking slightly weaker now that it has done that, and will potentially over the coming days and weeks, not saying tomorrow, could happen, but not saying that. It does take time because we just saw a pretty big shock bar. I'd probably say we'll drop back into somewhere in this zone of 2,000 to 2,400. Now, I will say that's not saying that I'm going to wait until that happens, because like I said, I like to sell out and buy in on a laddering scale. So as I've been doing, mentioning to the members, buying on the way down for my long-term positions, which is very different to the trading strategy. One is momentum because I want to make quick money. One is long-term holds because this is my store of value. Keep those separate and it will make so much more sense. Now to the traditional markets. We've been following the NASDAQ, we follow the S&P because we're looking at our 18.6 year cycle, which is taking us into 2026 for a peak in the stock market and the real estate market. So as cryptocurrency is shaping up at the moment, if we do get this long accumulation period for 2022, see what happens into 2023, then we could start to move up with the rest of the market later this decade, probably somewhere in the mid of the 2020s. Now, if that's the case, what we're probably seeing this year is profit taking. The market has gone up a lot. I know a lot of people don't want to see profit taking and they want the market to crash. We're probably getting that crash. Right now, we're down 13.88% from the all-time highs. And we've been looking at this, saying it's down 5%, 3%, 7%, 13.88%. Now, I have this one here just to give us a measure later on. But going back all the way to the bottom of the GFC, you had a 12% dip here. So that was an amazing time for investors to buy the dip. Then you had a dip back here of 14%. So these all feel like disgusting in the gut crashes, but they buy the dip opportunities. This has been the biggest one that we saw. This was the flu crash in 2020. So that was 30%. This was a time when everyone said, again, the market had to die. It's over. It's finished. That's the mid cycle here. 30%, awesome time to buy. Next, 23%, 12%, 12%, 18%, 19%, 10%, 16%, 17%. Why am I doing this? Have you figured out the pattern here? it generally doesn't go any more than about 20% within this market. 30% was extreme for extreme times. So if we're not in a full extreme flu crash, variant crash, then maybe we're looking somewhere between 20 and 30%. Maybe this could be the bottom here, but I dare say maybe we'll have a look at, I know there's a lot of maybes. This is the way the market works. You need to have your if-then statements. If this happens, I will do this. You can just see easy support and resistance around this 13,700 level. This is for the NASDAQ, so that we can see maybe they're getting a low forming on the NASDAQ, and we'll get some stability in cryptocurrency as well to be buying that dip. So as it stands, we're not too far off that low at the moment. If we got to the 50% line, there's your 18%. You go to the highs here, there's about 16%. So currently at about 14% down from the old all-time high, or basically from the pivot point. So we're looking at a potential turning point coming up very soon. Thanks for following the journey on the channel and saying hello in person on the Gold Coast here. Much appreciated. If you find value, make sure you smash that like button. Let's put these 5% to bed. Enjoy the market when they are down. Have to have a macro view to be able to enter the markets at these extremely difficult times. So write that up into a plan if you don't already have one. Like, share, subscribe. Links are in the description for your SwiftXs and your Bybits and obviously Patreon. So check it out down below. See you guys at the next video. Until then, have more fun to get more done.